Hello makers, and welcome to the wood shop. We're going to switch things up a little bit this week because we have some prep work for a big project that's coming up that's going to run throughout the entire month of November. And I'll share more details on that with you in just a few moments. But for now, one of the things I need to do down here in the shop is I need to get some wood cut to size for this project. Now the first task at hand is I need to take this large sheet of 4-foot by 8-foot Luan plywood, and I need to cut it down into 6-inch by 6-inch squares. That's going to be the foundation for a project we're going to be working on. We need 30 pieces. Actually, I need a few extras for another project that I'll be working on, and I'll be sharing with you as well. So I first need to get that thing through the table saw and start getting some pieces made. Okay, I've managed to create 3 strips, which are now 8 feet long by 6 inches wide. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my chop saw here, and I'm going to cut them down into 6-inch by 6-inch squares. And mission accomplished. We have the pieces we need for our project. Now it's time to get back to the studio and do a little bit of sanding and then some painting. Okay, welcome back to the studio. Now the project that we're working on this time is an extension of a series I did in 2021, which I called the Elementals series. And they look like this. They were basically small pieces of artwork, right? Here's another one here. And they're a box. It's basically a shadow box that is designed to hang on the wall. And so each one of these was made separately, and then as a result you can hang them as a grid or on top of one another or make, 5 by 5. So the goal for me for the month of November 2023 is to create a series of 30 of these, one for every day of the month, and I'll release one every single day. And we'll talk more about that in the next little bit. Now I managed to bring my big pile of lumber upstairs, and it had a quick sand just to get the jaggies off. And now I need to start preparing each one of these. So what am I doing in particular? Well, I have a couple pieces here left over from the previous project. And you'll notice that there's a little bit of distress going on, and there's also, in this case, an orange color and some black in here. And in essence, what I did is I painted each one of these a flat color, and then when it dried, I painted a black color over it. And once that dried, I then took a sander, a rotary sander, and I managed to sand it down and made a combination of kind of a distressed look here and a combination of the black showing through the orange. I have another one here that's more of a purple color, and you kind of get the point. So what I want to do with these pieces now is I simply want to go and I want to paint them up an array of different colors. So I have the assortment of all sorts of acrylic paints that I'll be using here. And what I want to do now is just spend a little time just painting everything up and make myself a stack of 30 of these things in various colors. So once I get done with that, we'll check back in and we'll put some black on them, and then we'll get to the next step. But for right now, yeah, let's fast forward through all this because I know it's a lot of fun to watch somebody else paint. But let's get there and get this done quickly. as you can see, we've gone through a lot of these, and I've chosen a fair number of colors. There are probably about 15 colors for the 30 different panels that we painted up here. And the next thing to do really here is to let them dry overnight, and then tomorrow I'm going to put a layer of matte black on each of them to give it something to work with, and then we'll go and I'll show you how the sanding process works. But that's something to do another day.
Approximately 10 hours later.
All right, welcome back to the studio. So it's the next day, and the painted pieces have had an opportunity to dry, which is perfect. And now we're going to make them wet again, because the final thing I need to do with these pieces is I need to apply a layer of matte black paint to them. Now this is going to be revealed when we finally get back to the shop and start sanding stuff off. But for right now I want to put a layer of black on every single one of these, and it's an easy enough process. So by the way, I'll put a link down in the description below for this paint. This is the Apple Barrel Black, which is really my go-to. It's a very utilitarian type of paint. It works out perfectly. I'm just going to work it straight out of the container here. And again, just an opportunity to come in here. And now we want to obscure all of our hard work, all of the work we had putting color on this. But fear not, this color will shine through yet again someday. And it's just a matter of putting a not too thick of a layer. We just want to make sure it obscures the color to the best of our ability. And we'll come in here and make sure that we get it thoroughly covered, so that in this case all of the yellow is gone. And that's really it. That's the process. So I've got 29 more of these to do. You don't need to watch this. We're going to cut ahead, and then let's go back down to the wood shop and let's take care of revealing those colors once and for all. Okay, back in the shop again. We have a stack. We have the brick of now black covered pieces of wood, and it's time to sand away at them and get to the inner beauty. Now for this, I'm going to be using a rotary sander, and I'm using a relatively fine grit. And the whole objective here is just to take off some of the black to leave more of a weathered finish, but also to reveal the color underneath. So let's get to it. Okay, welcome back to the studio. Now that we have all of our pieces ready to go, I have 30 of these, it's time to start creating the individual elementals pieces. Now, in these cases, I'm going to choose one of my boards to work on, and it's a matter of creating collages on each one of these. And I think for the first one, I'm going to just come up with a couple palettes. I have a slight off-white here. Let's see what else will work in here. So I dig into my box of scraps here. I have here, I don't know, I think I kind of, actually this bright color is drawing my attention. That'll be nice to have. I have here a pink, that'll bounce against this background as well. That's one of the things I'm taking into consideration here. And let me just get, yeah, that'll work nicely. And what I'm thinking here, again, there's no right way to do any of these. What I'm really looking at is what can I do to occupy this space with this color in the background and really create something that pops. Now, the objective of the elementals is that they can be a standalone piece of art, or they can be the kind of art that hangs with other elementals. You could put 2 together, 3 together, 5 together, 30 of them on a wall, and it will make a statement. And that's really what we're trying to do here. So to start things off, I'm going to be grabbing a trusty pair of my favorite paper scissors, which if you haven't seen the video, these are poultry shears. Yeah, it turns out that they're fantastic for what I like to do, and I guess if I need to cut a chicken apart, I can do that as well. But affordable and great. I'm going to need a glue stick. Now, you might ask yourself, Spider, is this glue stick going to be sufficient to glue pieces of paper to a piece of wood? And the answer is maybe not, but we're going to finish things off before we're done by putting a lacquer coating on here, which is going to adhere everything down nice and permanently before we get this thing ready to go. So let me just jump into a couple things I want to be able to maybe do here. And I'm thinking for this, I may just work with a series of just kind of colored dots, maybe lumps I can cut out, and maybe I'll have a couple of bright ones in here. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to come in here and let me just create some orbs of sorts, maybe potato shaped. You know, something that's going to be kind of interesting. I want it to have a bit of an organic feel. Yeah, and by the way, that color pops really nicely there. That's a good one. And I am going to make a few of these. And maybe a grid, maybe a 3x3 grid of 9 different dots. Maybe less than 9. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the paper and the background tell us. Again, one of the things that's fascinating to me about making abstract art is you can look at it while you're building it, and it will tell your brain what's working, what's not working. Let's get a couple colored pieces in here just so we can kind of shift them around. And I'll grab this pink color here, fuchsia or whatever we might call it. And again, I'm just going to come in here and make a couple lumps. There we go. We can already see the interrelationship between those two colors and the background. Do the same thing with this this teal color. Let's see if I can use this spot up right here. And yeah, that'll work nicely. Beautiful, beautiful. And the fact that they're all slightly different makes it kind of more appealing to me. And one more. I think I'll just go with these 3 basic colors. It's really our primary colors of sorts, right? Red, blue, yellow. And you know what? I think I'm going to create a few more of the white dots here. There's one. And you know what? I think I'm going to make a grid of 8. So I'm going to have the missing man formation here, just to, again, something to grab the eye. And sometimes I find with abstract art, you're trying to stay away from this idea of symmetrical things. I do like symmetry a lot of times when I'm creating things, but there are times when it just seems that your eye is going to be more drawn to the things that are not symmetrical than are. So, all right. So what is my thought in here? Let's kind of just rearrange some things around. I think I'm going to build it like this. Maybe put this one down here, put this one off the side. We'll just put these kind of on different levels. And there we go. You know, I don't hate that. I think that's kind of a fun pattern. And one of the things I'm going to make sure I do, because I want to use the real estate on this board as best I can, is I'm going to make sure that things are centered best I can. Now, it doesn't really matter for what I'm doing in the long run, but I want to make sure there's at least kind of a similar margin top and bottom here, just to make it a little bit more balanced when it's hanging on the wall. All right, so that's kind of what I'm thinking, and it's not a very complicated piece, nor does it need to be, but now it's just a matter of let's get some things adhered, and so I'm going to grab a gluing sheet real fast. And again, a gluing sheet oftentimes is just a piece of copier paper, something relatively easy that I don't mind destroying, and I can just use it so I have something to glue against. I can see the glue going down. I don't get it all over my cutting mat. That's really the overall objective here. So let me drop this guy in here, and again, I have a little bit of flexibility in how I move these around while the glue is still wet. Let's go in here, and we will make put a second dot right there. Beautiful. And it's just a matter of getting some sufficient glue. I want these to have at least enough to hold them preliminarily, but like I said, we're going to end up putting a layer on here, which is going to brighten up the background. That's one of the objectives with the lacquer, is it will draw the background colors out, and also the colors of the paper pieces. But it'll also make sure that they all stay put. Because the last thing we want to have happen with this is over time it starts shedding its spots. We don't want that to be the case at all. And there we go. Yeah, a couple more to glue down here. Okay, get this goldenrod piece in place. And one more. Now, again, when I'm going through this process, and if you're following along and going through this process, just kind of follow your gut. That's really all I can say, is just get comfortable with the fact that, you know, there's no particular, you know, this is the only way you can do anything kind of scenario. I'm just sliding them over a little bit so they're more centered. I want this to be a unique and interesting piece. That's it. That's my objective. And when I look at this by itself, you know, I may not say, wow, that's the most stunning abstract I've ever seen in my life, but if I combine this with other pieces, it may get a little bit closer to the, you know, the combining of all of the abstracts together is going to have a different statement. So I'm happy with that for now. I'm going to wait for this to dry for a few minutes. And when this is done drying, I'm going to come back and I'm going to put some lacquer on this guy, and we'll really shine it up a little bit, and then we'll take it to the next step. All right, now everything is dried sufficiently. What I want to do now is I want to put a protective coating on this piece. As I said before, part of that is to draw out the background color, but mostly it's to make sure that these pieces of paper end up adhering to this forever. We don't want them to dry out over time. This is a roughly, you know, it's a basically it's a paste, right? It's a kind of almost a wheat-based paste, which is great for pieces of paper on pieces of paper, but over time, if it dries, gets crumbly, it may fall off. We don't want any pieces coming off of this. So I am going to use, I'm going to use the standard Mod Podge, if you're not familiar with Mod Podge. This is more of a matte finish. It's a sealant. It's something that allows us to go in and do exactly what I want to do. I want to basically put a protective coat on this piece, but also glue everything down. It will dry, of course, transparent. And this is a fairly standard product. By the way, Mod Podge makes a whole bunch of different products, including this one, which is for outdoor use. So if you have extremes of weather, or you're creating something that's going to be sitting outside of the weather, you might want to seal it up a little bit more tightly. But in our case, we're going to go with this. Now, just because I don't want to use any of my actual art brushes for this, I'm going to be using a sponge brush, something I can toss at the end if I want to, and not spend a lot of time cleaning this. So I'm going to get my Mod Podge open here. Sometimes, like most things, if you haven't used it for a while, it might make sense to give it a stir before you work with it. This one's got a skin on it. Apparently I haven't used this for quite a while. It's sealed itself. There we go. Again, it's always good to have a roll of paper towels not too far away from your workstation when you're doing things like this. All right, I'm going to get my brush in here a little bit. And again, I just want to come in here and just start painting this on. Now it comes in, it's a milky looking substance initially, but I am going to get a thorough coat on here. And of course, make sure I get my paper pieces covered thoroughly as well, because it is gluing them down a little bit further at this point. And I'm going to try to even my coats out. That's going to be important. I don't want to have necessarily a lot of buildup around the paper pieces. Not that you can really see them unless you get up close, but just for the sake of just making sure that things are consistent. And there we go. I think that's going to work. Now I can see some brush marks in there, but I will assure you that within a few moments those brush marks will level out, and this is going to go away. So we'll be able to see the colors popping nicely here, but as I mentioned, the best part about this is it's going to protect the paper pieces and prevent them from falling off in the future, which will be nice as well. So that is the first of the elementals that has been constructed, and then we'll wait for the lacquer to dry. And the final thing I want to be able to do is I want to be able to put a hanger on this, and I'll show you some hangers that I've built, and then we're going to get them painted and ready to go and put up in the gallery. And we'll talk about that. Let's give this some time to dry, and when we get back, we'll get to the back of this thing.
3 days later.
Okay, welcome back. So we have a piece that is dried, and again, this is a matte finish. If you wanted to shine these up, a gloss finish could work for you. I'm perfectly happy keeping a little bit more subdued, but it also does start to pop the colors out a little bit more, and it's now protected, which is really the objective of getting that coat on it. Now finally, I want to get ready to hang this piece on a wall, And the hanging approach that I use, I have created basically these wooden frames. They're 5 inches on each side. Since my block is 6 inches, it just gives me an opportunity to have something that I can put in here. And what I will generally do is I will create an equidistant value, usually about a ½ an inch down from the top. That's what I'm aiming for here. And something that I can just glue into place. Now, I tried a number of different possibilities, you know, some sort of fasteners, and what it's really come down to is good old-fashioned tight bond premium glue here. So this is a glue that when it dries waterproof, which is not my objective, but it's also incredibly strong wood glue. So what I'm going to do in this scenario is I'm going to position my my frame here, and all I really want to do is I want to take the glue and I want to create a spot in each one of the corners, and that is sufficient, it turns out, to be able to hold this in. I'll make sure that I can do that. So there's a spot of glue there. You might be able to see that. I'm going to put a spot of glue there, a spot of glue here, and we'll do the same thing here. Now if you want, you know, I sometimes I'll put a little bit at the top here just because that's where it's going to be doing most of the holding. And the objective of this is to be able to drive a nail or a peg or something into the wall, and then this piece of wood will allow you to hang this. And you can create a grid, which we'll be able to do, and you'll see this in the mock-ups that we're going to be posting, but an opportunity to be able to have something that is going to serve the purpose that we want it to serve, which is to hang this thing on the wall, and have them so that it can all be roughly the same at the same level. Now once the glue dries, I have one last phase I want to do here, which is I'm going to come back in here, and when the glue is finally dried, one of the last things I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in and I'm going to paint the back of this whole thing matte black. I'm going to get rid of any of the raw wood color here. And once the paint dries, then I can come in here and I can give this a name and a number as part of this series. And I'll put my signature in here. And this is going to go up in the gallery. So make sure you check the links out below or go to spectivastudios.com. Either one will take you there. Look for Elementals, which is the name of this series. And then, yeah, if you need anything as a great gift idea, they'll be on a good sale price. And we're trying to give them some good homes. But this is going to be a limited series, obviously, and only 30 of them to go, and they're all going to be different. So an opportunity to find something unique for a loved one as a gift, or just something for yourself. Hey, there's nothing wrong with buying yourself gifts, never. And every single day, we're going to have a 1-minute video that's going to have the build of the day being represented, and we'll be able to see how this thing progresses. Anyway, I hope this is fun for you, fun for me, and if there's anything I can do to help inspire you to find your own inner artist, please check it out. And also would love to have you visit our website on a regular basis, so if you're not a subscriber already, please take care of that. Anyway, that's all I have to share with you today. Thanks so much for dropping by. This is Spider, and I'll talk to you next time.